I need to probably not fall backwards. Hey y'all, welcome to my garden tour. It's garden tour number 3, I think. It's really week 4 because last week I didn't get a garden tour done because 1, we were really busy, and 2, my garden was a disaster. There were weeds everywhere, there were tomatoes everywhere because I didn't get them all tied up like I needed to, and my intention was to come out and work in the garden and then do a tour, and I just never got time to work in the garden, so the tour never happened. But oh well, it's what it is. So here we are. We came out and weeded everything. Derek tilled between the rows, and the kids and I worked with him, and we weeded. The tomatoes still need to be, a lot of them need to be weeded underneath, but between them it's good. All of the weeds in here are spiky. I don't know what they are. There's some thistles and stuff, and then these other broadleaf little flat, I don't know what they are, but they stab you in the toes, so we had to get it cleaned up. Anyway, so these are my, well, these aren't, but these and most of these are saucing tomatoes. We haven't tried this type before. I've told you before, they're the Tachis. They're a hybrid. We typically do heirloom. Wanted to try something different because they're supposed to be resistant to disease and blossom end rot, and I came through yesterday and picked 5 or 6 that were not ripe, but they had terrible blossom end rot. So I don't know, we'll see. I'm like, well, if they're going to be, and I can't save seeds from them because they're hybrid, so they won't be true seed. So I think that if the rest of them continue to do about like the heirloom tomatoes, I'll probably just go back to some of my heirloom tomatoes. They are determinate, so they're just going to put out what they put out, and that'll be it. And so they're kind of bushy and wild. I don't prune them. This one needs to be tied up more. But look, we've got one that is starting to turn, but it has a little bit of that blossom in it. We'll see. This one, let's see it. It's starting. Woo, I'm gonna fall. Turn, and yep, it's not too bad. It has a little dark, but not bad. It's just, so we'll see. They're looking pretty good. Other than that, there's tons of fruit on them, and there's one here that I believe is actually ripe. Yep, it's a little yellow on top. Oh, I was gonna leave it one more day, but now I'm not. Yep, looks good. It's not very big, but they don't get huge, so we'll see how they taste. I'll give that to Derek, my cameraman, my handy cameraman. So these look good. Remember how I told you everything in here is spiky? Well, I have weeds that we weeded stuck to the bottom of my flip-flops because...
It's a pigweed.
Oh, they're full of, ouch, pricklies.
Yes. You need me to help you?
Well, you know me, I'm very good at balancing. Ta-da! Okay, we have a marigold there that was starting to sprout, and I cleaned up the garden, but apparently there's some random pieces of wood laying around, but whatever. It is what it is. I say that a lot. It is what it is. We've got more heirlooms. That tomato was a casualty of the tiller. Somehow it got planted way out in the row, and Derek came through with the tiller, and we could have a fried green tomato.
It's still alive.
Well, yeah.
Ish.
Well, look, that's the stem.
Yeah.
It's not gonna make it.
It's not.
One, yeah,
no, it's not.
This one had some issues with the tiller, but it's still alive. So we're gonna just let it do its thing.
Whoops.
It is what it is. So welcome to our life. It's just, yeah. Sometimes it's chaos, and other times it's less chaos, but still chaos. Anyway, mostly my tomatoes look good. There's one over there. Don't know what happened to it. It's just like sad and drooping and looks like it's dying. We came through and watered everything because we're not getting a ton of rain. We've gotten some, but it is really dry again. We're not getting anywhere near enough to sustain what we need. So everything is really struggling a bit. I have a couple of squash that are struggling. That tomato, we'll go over and look at it. Does not look good. It's not looking good. And I don't know what happened to all of my labels. We had them in the ground, but they washed away. But I have written down.
We have a map.
We have a map. I have a map of how many of each type and where they are.
It's a garden directory.
So I need to find that, yes, and figure out what this is. But yeah, it was a nice big plant, and it doesn't look too good for this plant.
It's still wet around the bottom, or we watered it yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it.
Huh.
It was already like that, so I don't know.
It's the only one that's not damaged that's like that.
It's the only one.
Or visibly damaged.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on. All of these are here in my pink brandywine. So I'm going to show you something. This is called a potato leaf plant because its leaves look more like potato leaves than tomato leaves, which these over here have those. They've got more jagged edges. These are more rounded, so I don't know if you know that or not. There's a difference, but that. So these are pink brandywines. The only ones I have that are potato leaves are pink brandywines, so I feel really smart coming in the garden. I'm like, and these that aren't labeled over here, these are pink brandywines. I only know
because you can tell because of the plant.
I can tell because of the leaf, not because of anything else.
Yeah.
All right, so these tomatoes here, somebody gave me these seeds, and they are called blonde, some big long word that starts with a K, and I don't know what they are. I think they're German. I've talked about them before. Don't know what they produce, but they have hundreds of tiny little blooms on them, like tons. And these look little tomatoes all over them. There are tons under there. So I guess they're, I don't know if they're a cherry tomato or a grape tomato, but I'm thinking they're some kind of cherry tomato. But I'm really excited about them. I'm gonna see how they do and what they are. Hopefully they taste delicious. I was looking for my blue gold, oh, they're over there. I missed my blue gold berries. But anyway, we had our blue gold berries over there, which we love there from Wild Boar Farms, and they're one of our favorites, and we've had several ripe. There's not a ton, but we've had about 3 or 4, and they're really, really good. And our atomic grapes, we have 2 plants, and we broke a giant branch off of one of them. We were weeding. By we, I mean Derek. He broke a giant branch off one of them.
I did?
Yeah, Emma came out and was like, what happened to my branch? And it was laying after you tilled, and I was like,
oh, well, tilling. See, that's different than, I mean, I am running the tiller to weed, but
it's like, your daddy
I didn't
did
weed
it
around any tomatoes.
No, it was fine. I mean, it's fine. So anyway, you can see we weeded under the tomatoes right here, some of these, so they're looking better. We weeded the rows, but all together our tomatoes are looking good, and we're going to start getting ripe tomatoes, like a bunch, really soon. I'm excited about that because we're definitely behind in our garden compared to everybody else around us, and I'm just like, I need some tomatoes and some fresh vegetables in my life. All right, right here we have these, which I'm really excited about, and we have, I think, 6 plants. Here's one that's probably ready. These are called the Nada Pinos, and I have been wanting to grow these for several years, and I have not. This is my first year. Is this a Nada Pino? Yeah.
Looks like it.
Anyway, but they are, Baker Creek sells them. I don't know if anybody else does. I just know that Baker Creek had them. And they are like a jalapeno flavor, but without the heat. And so I don't mind a little bit of heat with peppers, but I don't like something that's like super burn your mouth up. I like the flavor with a little bit of heat, but these I'm hoping are just really, really yummy because I'm excited about them. And then we have Anaheim chilies. I think the rest of this row is all Anaheim chili. I overplanted Anaheim this year because last year none of my Anaheim chilies sprouted and made it, and I ended up having to buy plants. So I did a bunch, and like they did, of course they did really well this year. So which is awesome. Yeah, I'm excited. So we already picked 2. There's a couple that are ready to pick today. I'll probably pick them and take them down with me, and then that gives us 4, and we can do something with them. We can probably chop them up and freeze them so they don't go bad, because we'll be loaded down with them before too long. And then on this side we have ground cherries, which are very weedy underneath, and we're gonna have to put gloves on and come through here because these weeds are spiky, and the ground cherries are growing really low to the ground. So we can't really harvest them very well with, you know, spiky weeds because it's painful. And then I have more peppers, lots of peppers. I don't even know what all I have. I know I have a bunch of bell peppers. I have some shishito peppers. I've never tried those. I have some kind of Korean fish peppers somebody gave me. I have over there, and I'll show you, we have jalapenos. We bought twice. So we bought one set of jalapenos, something stripped them down. We bought another set of jalapenos, put them in. The other jalapenos, the first ones that got stripped down, started growing.
I think we think a deer got the first one.
But then they grew and they're producing. They look great. The second set that we bought, the goats got in here and ate every leaf off of them. So we were like, well, at least the other ones are growing now, and they actually are coming back. So I'm gonna end up with a bunch of jalapenos that are hot. So, which is fine. We like them too. We like to.
I like to pickle them.
Yep. And then this is exciting. We've actually pulled 4 cucumbers. These are the Beet Alpha. They're growing on that side, but this one's hanging through. They're, I think I heard about them from doTERRA at Appalachia's Homestead with doTERRA, and decided to try those. And then on this side I have silver slicers, and I have, oh, look at this one.
Oh, that's pretty.
They're a white kind of color. They're really spiky. Jeremiah said they're not silver slicers, they're silver spikers. So I'm excited to try them. They're supposed to be really good. And oh, found a dig. The bees have been all over these. Every time I come out here, the bees are just all over them pollinating, which makes me really happy and excited. So that's awesome. And I weeded. This was terrible. There were just weeds everywhere. I weeded this with a stirrup hoe and got it cleaned up. So hopefully, there are actually a couple plants I didn't even know were there, because there's like this one. Look how little and puny it is. It was like the weeds were up to here, and when I started weeding, all of a sudden I was like, oh, there's a plant there. So hopefully it'll take off. But the ones over there obviously grow faster than these, because they were all planted at the same time, but the bee alphas are growing faster than the silver slicers. I heard on Roots and Refuge channel though, she found that there's a pickling version, a small version of the silver slicers. She pickles these, but they're, she said they're just as good as the bigger ones, but they're smaller, so they, you know, pick them sooner for pickling. So next year I think I'll probably try a few more varieties of cucumbers. It's just been a rough few years for cucumbers, and I just wanted to get some in the ground and get some this year. All right, I got my Rebel Okra plant way over here. Rogue plant.
So what happens when you have kids helping you plant?
Yes. And then we have quite a few in the row. We have like a bare spot down there, like a long bare spot, and then we have just about 4 or 5 more, maybe 6 more down on that end. And then our squash, I came through and replanted because I have a bug chasing me. I came through and replanted because not all of them sprouted, so we have a new one here. This one came up and is doing well. This plant, I don't know what's going on with it. We came up yesterday and it was wilty. We watered it really heavily. It's still wet. I don't know if it's where we weeded around it, if we just disturbed the root system too much or not. The kids were weeding, so I don't know how much they dug up before and recovered, so it could be that. It actually looks a little better than yesterday coming up to it, so we'll see. Hopefully it survives, because it's loaded up pretty good with squash.
A lot of blooms.
We picked 2 squash so far off of down there, a plant down here. So we're just starting to get some produce off of our plants. So I'm like super excited about that. We got this one is coming up. But yeah, we have quite a few. We have a crookneck here. And this little thing right here is, I'm gonna just pick it because it's been like this for days. It's really short and squatty and it's not growing. I think it's just, I think that's all it was gonna do. It's just been like that. Every time I come up here, I'm like, well, give it some more time. Keep giving it time, it's not doing anything. So we got that, and then I think we have one more baby down there. None of our zucchini came up. Which zucchini
is so weird. The last 2 years with squash would usually, we would be like everywhere you put a seed, there'd be squash.
Goodness, yeah.
The last 2 years have been so iffy.
But these are the first jalapenos I was telling you about that the deer or whatever ate, and they're coming back, starting to produce. I have my tiny peppercini, my one lone surviving little peppercini is coming up, so hopefully it will be able to produce. I don't know if it'll have time or not because they're really slow. And then what are all these? Sweet bananas. I was like, what are they? I don't remember. All these are my sweet bananas I started, and they came up. They didn't sprout, so I started more, and then I had several sprouts. I had my 4, and then I had 6. I'm sorry, skipped a spot, there's a weed. So I have 6 sweet bananas, which we like to pickle them too. They're really good. And then I have these that were completely stripped that the goats had. They were already starting to produce, and so we came up here and all that was hanging on them was these little jalapeno peppers and nothing. Sticks with jalapeno peppers on them. But they're coming back, so hey. I
didn't know peppers would do that.
I didn't either, now we know. They were heavily pruned. And then we have our 2 rows of green beans, which are looking good. Not anywhere near producing yet. Well, they're starting to.
Are they getting some blooms?
Not blooms, but they're going to throw off some of their more. Okay. They'll get blooms soon. The corn, it came up a little bit sparsely, but it looks good. We have the corn in our Lazy Man's garden, the experimental garden. That's really, I don't know if we'll make it over there for this tour or not. I guess we will. Okay, we will. The cameraman says we'll go over there.
Well, we need to. It's part of our garden.
But it's bigger than this, and it looks really good.
Did you talk about my potatoes?
And Derek's potatoes. We're going to go check out your potatoes. So
very important.
He completely buried a quarter of them-ish. Quarter-ish.
Yeah.
And I was skeptical, but they came back. All of these, most of them came back. There's some that didn't come back.
Well, they're still coming up though.
But they're starting to come up through.
They're breaking the ground right there.
I see. So all of this he completely buried. The rest he hilled where just a little bit was sticking out. I don't think we really have any more dirt to hill them, so this is probably all they're going to get at this point.
Yeah.
So hopefully they produce really well. I know a lot of people are already digging potatoes. We were planting about the time people were ready to dig, so it'll be fine. We'll just wait until the plants die back and then we'll dig our taters. But they seem to be working. I don't know what's going on underneath the ground.
We'll see if they produce more, less, or the same.
Yep, it'll be interesting to see.
It's an experiment.
Yep. So, like I said, the kids have theirs. They just stake theirs with these tomato stakes and sticks they had, and their little.
Don't step on Kylie's nasturtium.
Oh, yeah, Kylie's had one nasturtium out of all of the stuff she's planted
there.
right there. Came up. She's excited about it. I don't want to step on it. So we have one little lone tomato plant here, and they've got. They don't even know what they are because they were pulling them as we were planting, so they're just all kinds of whatever surprise tomatoes. And then we got melons and pumpkins and some winter squash, and let's see, we got cantaloupe melon and watermelons. There's several watermelon down that way. Nothing is producing yet. I mean, it's just starting to grow. They're starting to put blooms off, so we don't have any baby melons or any baby pumpkins yet, but I expect we'll have quite a few. I planted some Big Macs pumpkins, which get huge. I just for the fun of it. And then Cushaws, we always plant, and that's what we typically grow, and we'll puree and freeze the pumpkin
for pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin pie.
It's good.
Good stuff. So Lydia's little marigolds there, and then we have our onions. So we have starting here, and the onions, I'm interested to see how they do because the goats ate some of the tops off. So I'm going to see, compared to the ones they didn't eat the tops off, what makes a bigger onion, to know. Because some people are like, oh, top your onions, and other people are like, no, you don't need to top them. So this is my experiment to see. So we have onions down to amongst the weeds down to there, and then Emma has planted flowers, and you can't really see because they're not producing any. They don't have any blooms on them yet, but she's got some flowers planted all on that side. And then I also have calendula planted down there, and it's not producing yet. I saw one was starting to get, like it was going to get a bud on it, so hopefully that will produce, and they'll produce a lot, so I can dry the flower heads and make some salves and stuff like that. I think these are my calendula right here. Yeah, see? This one's got 3 now. I only had 1 the other day, and it'll open up, and they're pretty like a yellowy, orangey yellow flower. We have a baby pumpkin. A baby cushaw. Aha, look. I didn't see that the other day, so I was wrong. We do. We have a baby.
There it is.
Little baby pumpkin. It's so cute.
Now, is it technically a pumpkin or is it a squash?
Depends on who you ask.
Or a gourd?
It's usually found under pumpkins on websites, but a lot of people say, well, it's a gourd, or I don't know. But it tastes like pumpkin to me, so I call it pumpkin. It was introduced to me as pumpkin.
Yes, and then we make pumpkin pies out of it.
My dill is taken off. It's funny because I bought 2 dill plants, and it might be a different type of dill, but these are like really not, they were starting to go to seed, and then they just kind of petered out. I have that one, but they're not really doing anything. But all this dill I planted is just outgrowing that. It's taking off, so I need to probably not fall backwards. I need to probably trim some and dry it so I have it, but I figure when we start doing our cucumbers, we'll just come up here and cut what we need fresh for our dill.
For our pickles.
Seasoning. Our pickles, that'd be yummy. And then over there, Emma has some sunflowers. The goats ate on them. They're sad. They're really sad. They needed to be in the ground. Like,
there are a lot of sad things. There are a lot of good things, but there's a lot of sad things.
Yeah. Welcome to our mediocre garden. No, it's actually doing really well. So I think it's doing better than I expected, considering how long our plants were in little bitty pots and how long it took us to get them in the ground, and the lack of fertilizer in the ground, lack of nutrients for them. But you know what? It is what it is. And I think that we've prayed over it a lot, so I think God's going to bless it, and I think we'll get a good amount of food.
There will be a harvest.
There will be a harvest, and we'll be able to preserve and put up. I really want to do a lot of pickles because we've, like I said, in the last few years have not been good cucumber years, and we love pickles. So we don't really buy a lot of pickles from the store because they have, even organic ones, have a lot of preservatives and junk in them that we just don't like to eat. So we don't buy them. So I'm hoping we can get a good bit of pickles put up for the year, and tomato sauce and stuff like that, and beans, and I'm hoping to have a really good corn harvest and be able to freeze a bunch of corn, and of course potatoes store, so hopefully we get a good potato harvest that will store well for us. And then I did a few types of winter squash to try. Like, we have a butternut squash that we got last fall, and it is still fine. I need to cook that thing. Somebody sent me a recipe and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try this, and then I haven't tried it. So it's hard to experimental cook in a camper though. I'll say that. If you're not in a real kitchen that you can spread out and try things, it's kind of hard. But so I've got candy roaster squash and butternut squash. All right, we are up here at the Lazy Man's experimental garden. We have corn and some random, maybe pumpkins and cantaloupe. I don't see any watermelon.
There shouldn't be pumpkin.
Emma planted a few pumpkins.
Over here.
Over on that side. Yeah. But I'm saying up here in general. We didn't put any more watermelon in because we thought that they were some of these little ones were going to be watermelon, but they're not. So
cantaloupe is my favorite.
Yeah, he loves cantaloupe. The kids love cantaloupe. Cantaloupe's okay. I don't love it. Anyway,
but look at it all.
But look at this. We've got tons. I'm excited about
it. We
them.
didn't even plant this at all.
No,
the pigs did this.
The pigs did all that. I planted these corn. I threw this handful right here.
Yes.
It's not where
this is.
This is my wild corn.
Yeah.
And then we have, like, just all throughout here. This might be a watermelon.
Maybe.
We'll see. And of course, if they grow, they're store-bought, so who knows what they'll actually produce.
Yeah, they're probably some type of hybrid that won't produce anything.
Yeah.
There's no watermelon, looks like.
There's another one. Okay, so there's a few watermelon. I didn't see them the other day. And then up here, all that is corn.
Go stand and show how much taller that corn is. Same type of corn.
And
a week later.
Planted a week later. Our other corn is like to here on me, and this is like up here. So now, granted, the corn in the garden did get chomped by the goats.
Some of it.
Not all of it, but some of it. But it still is not anywhere near the growth we have here. So, and we have quite a few weeds because they came out, the pigs did their pig tiller thing, and but it's an experiment. It's kind of just we're just letting it go, and we're not watering it, we're not weeding it, we're not doing anything. We just
I struggled the other day when I walked over in here because there were some weeds and I wanted to pull them so bad. There's some Johnson grass, like right here.
It almost looks like corn, but it's
kind of. And I was like, man, I need to get that. And I was like, nope, I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to let it do its thing and see what happens. And
we were going to come in and sow some green beans, the same style, just throw some over in the corner. But we didn't get to that, and it's kind of, at this point, it's borderline too late, so I don't know that we're actually going to do that.
We might, but
it's not real high on the priority list right now, but we might. We'll see. So yeah, we just have a lot going on.
It was on my list last week. Y'all heard me talk about the list, and then it got pushed plumb off of the list, and it hasn't made it onto this week's list yet.
All right, well, that's the garden tour. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoy sharing it with you. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe, and then hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time we upload a video. If you give us a thumbs up, YouTube will know you're enjoying what you see. And please comment below, let me know what's growing in your garden or your favorite part of my garden, and I'll catch you guys next time.